World News in 5.
Right now.
News and developments making headlines around the world in 5 minutes. World News in 5. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Good day to all of our listeners here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. This is World News in 5 and I'm your host, Steph Vicente. United States Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has threatened new sanctions against countries that refuse to cut economic ties with Iran, although he stopped short of announcing major new penalties. The CNN reports Secretary Bessent said that U.S. President Donald Trump has been contacting world leaders, and urging them to help economically isolate Tehran without providing a specific timeline. China, India, Turkey, Iraq, and the United Arab Emirates could face greater scrutiny, while the United States is already targeting Iran's oil exports, including shipments to China. Secretary Bessent also warned that groups involved in helping Iran launder money could be expelled from the U.S. financial system, with a major sanctions announcement expected by the end of the week. Iran's currency, the rial, has meanwhile fallen to a record low of more than $2 million to the US dollar on the open market. Iranian officials said Tehran is prepared to respond to any new U.S. sanctions. In other news overseas, United States President Donald Trump has threatened to raise U.S. tariffs on automobiles, trucks, and auto parts imported from Canada from 25% to 50% beginning January 1. According to BBC News, the threat comes after U.S.-Canada trade talks collapsed late last week, with both sides accusing each other of making unacceptable last-minute demands. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney called the proposed tariffs unsurprising and accused President Trump of seeking to damage Canada's auto industry. Prime Minister Carney said Canada remains willing to resume negotiations if the United States approaches the talks with the right attitude. Canada has also warned that it will respond with reciprocal tariffs on U.S. goods on a dollar-for-dollar basis. The escalating dispute marks a sharp shift from earlier optimism that the two countries could reach a new trade agreement. And finally, the United States Supreme Court has allowed the Trump administration to begin implementing parts of an executive order aimed at restricting mail voting, although further legal challenges could prevent the measures from taking effect before the November midterm elections. In an unsigned 10-page order, as reported by CNN, the justices allowed the Department of Homeland Security to move forward with the proposal to compile state-specific list of people it considers eligible to vote in states challenging the policy. The court also allowed the U.S. Postal Service to proceed with plans requiring states to submit voter eligibility list and provide additional information for tracking mailed ballots, although a lower court has separately blocked that effort nationwide. The Supreme Court emphasized that its decision did not determine whether Trump's executive order is ultimately lawful. Additional court challenges and emergency appeals are therefore expected, potentially putting the issue back before the High Court within days. The ruling gives Trump a temporary legal victory but does not fully clear the way for his broader effort to change the rules governing mail-in ballots. And that concludes today's edition of World News in 5. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this has been Steph Vicente. Good day and stay safe, everyone.
World News in 5.
Right now.
News and developments making headlines around the world in 5 minutes. World News in 5. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.